Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health with SaraBanta. I'm a busy wife, mom of 3, and an NANP certified supplement professional, but that's not all. I'm also the founder of the multi-award-winning Accelerated Health Products, a brand offering innovative natural supplements to optimize your health. And this podcast is not just a source of information, it's a community. We're all here to learn and grow on our health journeys, and this podcast is the springboard to learning, and the free group coaching on Telegram is where we continue to learn together. You can ask questions. I post tips and tools to deepen your health and to keep you motivated and moving along forward. So here's what you can expect. New episodes every Monday and Wednesday with in-depth health discussions and expert guests and hot topic issues that are in the news every Friday. And then, of course, followed with the free health group coaching on Telegram, where I answer your questions and you connect with others and you get that dopamine hit and that moving forward, because that's what this is all about. Have you thought about detoxing, but you're a little nervous? Well, I've created over 10 unique, easy detox cleanses to help you reset your body while you feel great, even day one. No detox flu symptoms. Just take the detox quiz. The link is on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com, to find out which one's right for you. And if you don't want to do a full detox, but you want to start with some supplements, just complete my health goals form on the website, and I will put together a free supplement protocol for you. So just taking those few steps forward literally are going to change your life. So we have my favorite guest back, and that's Dr. Amie Hornaman, talking all things thyroid. How are you, Amie?
Hi, Sarah. We love hanging out together and talking. So,
yeah,
we do a million of these just because we like it.
We had a hard time getting off the pre-record, just, chatting away. I'm like, we need to get this on.
We should be recording the pre-record. Yeah.
Well, today we're talking about signs your thyroid is not healthy and what to do next. And the thyroid's the master endocrine gland. The thyroid affects everything. It affects your sex drive. It affects your stress level. It affects your mental health. It affects your workouts in the gym. It affects everything. And I literally had an email coming yesterday, and I'm sure you get hundreds of the same one every week. Help. I have weight gain. I have my hair's falling out. I'm depressed. I'm fatigued. The doctors say I'm normal. And get this one, you'll like this one. I said, well, let me see your labs, because did they test your free T3? Yes, they did. And the doctor said it's normal. And I said, okay, so let me see your numbers. So she sends me the blood test. There's the TSH, there's the T4. And I said, well, where's the T3? But in her mind, this is how schooled we are, is that we assume that our doctor has done everything that is being asked. So we just assume the doctor didn't test the free T3, right? But she just assumed, and she was so confident that she even told me that her doctor did. So it's just amazing to me that doctors aren't there yet. And that's why I love what you talk about, the fact that you don't even want to look at TSH and T4. Yes, you do look at them, but those aren't the important numbers. So let's jump in. I mean, where do we begin, Amie?
Well, first of all, we just need to frame that email and put it out everywhere, because that email could be the email of hundreds of thousands of women out there. It's the same ones that we get every single day. I see it posted in the Facebook group. It's the same thing and I say women, I'm not leaving out the guys, but women get hit harder with Hashimoto's, and we tend to be more cognizant of small changes in our body. An extra 5 pounds to a guy may or may not bother him. An extra 5 pounds to a woman, my gosh, where is this coming from? I need to change something. What's happening to my body? And then especially if you stack that with everything that you said, the hair loss, the constipation, the brain fog, the low sex drive. I mean, just literally we get to a point where it feels like our bodies are falling apart and that we're not even in our own body. So what we want to have happen is that our doctors would be interested enough in us as a patient to want to know what's going on inside of our body. If we go to our docs and we report, hey, this is something that's happening that is abnormal. My body doesn't usually react like this. So I want to test. And that doctor says no to testing or doesn't even follow through on their word that they are going to test, then it's time to get a new doctor. And that's really where, the majority of women are in the conventional medicine system. Unfortunately, it just is. So yeah, I think our job is to educate on those signs that your thyroid is not working very well, those symptoms that you really need to pay attention to, that I always I call symptoms gifts by your body, GIFTS, gifts, because it's your body giving you something that just says, hey, can you listen to us for a little bit? There's something going on and you need to look a little bit deeper. You need to figure out what is happening that is causing the weight gain, the constipation, the fatigue, the brain fog, the low libido, whatever the symptom or symptoms are. That's your body giving you a nice little nudge to listen to it and look deeper so you can figure it out. Yeah, do you want to start with symptoms? You want to start with testing? We can go anywhere.
Well, I want to start with symptoms in a minute, but as you were talking, it made me think, what's the motivation of a doctor to say, you know what, I will test the T3 and free T3 and reverse T3. What is holding them back? Don't they get paid every time you come into the office? Or is it the fact that they don't know how to prescribe certain medications that will address the free T3?
Yes, all of the above. So you have to realize that the doctors are taught in med school it's a very simple formula, and it's called standard of care. So this is how your doctor mainly operates, is under this standard of care that's set in place by the insurance companies to say, we'll pay for this, but not for this. And doctors are taught about the thyroid that you test TSH. And if TSH is above a 4.5, then you give Synthroid. I mean, it's a very nice, easy little diagram. If this, then this, then this, done. But in reality, if we plot it out, you're testing these 5 different markers. And if this, then you might go that way and add this in over here and throw in some T3 to the NDT, or maybe that person is T3 only. I mean, we have a million different ways to go with the thyroid because the thyroid really is that nuanced. So there was one time, I tell the story all the time because I find it fascinating. I was talking to a group of integrative wellness physicians. So they even had integrative in the title of their practice. Like that's what it was, LECOM, integrative wellness physicians. And I'm talking to them about, number one, testing reverse T3, how important it is. They were already testing the free T3, but they were leaving off the reverse. And I said, this is the importance of testing the reverse T3. And then I moved over here and I said, we all need to, as providers, get out of the Synthroid box. And what I described was, everybody's in this T4 box. And it's just what I said, if TSH is above 4.5, then you give T4. That is it. You don't do anything else. I said, if somebody comes in depressed, you'll try 5 different antidepressants on them until you find one that works. Or you might even combine 2 of them and throw in a sleeping pill. But for thyroid, you give one medication. Why is that? One doctor raises his hand and goes, that's all we've learned.
Yeah.
And I paused for a minute and I was like, well, first of all, thank you for being honest. That's awesome that you can just openly admit that. Number 2, then we need to change. And then it's our job as providers to expand our knowledge and realize that there are different ways to do things out there to better help patients. So long answer to a short question, but it's all they've learned.
Yeah, and I was just listening to Casey Means on a podcast talking about the fact that doctors don't learn anything about nutrition. Isn't that why we're here? We are becoming more and more sick at an accelerated rate. chronic diseases left and right. I mean, people are coming out of the woodwork with that had never had health issues before, and no one is addressing the food system that's been hijacked, the toxins that we're consuming, the air we're breathing. I just saw Dr. Mercola posted an article about fluoride causing thyroid disease, and that is now researched. There's a study out. You and I knew that, right? Because what is fluoride displacing? Displacing iodine, and we're all iodine deficient. Imagine that. And then also coming out with a study on Parkinson. You're going to love this one. Parkinson's is now connected to not just hypothyroidism, but T3. They actually said T3, not T4 or TSH. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this is going to wake up doctors.
Right.
So, I have family members with Parkinson's and dementia. What if they had taken care of their hypothyroidism earlier in life and didn't just succumb to the fact that you're supposed to gain weight when you get older, and just let's eat the Doritos and drink the beer because we might as well. Right? So it's like things are finally coming out. So maybe it's going to be in 20 years that doctors start testing for T3, and you don't have to be screaming at them with all of your symptoms. But let's talk about those symptoms that we're screaming at our doctors with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say the top three are the weight gain or inability to lose weight, fatigue, and hair loss. Those are just the top three. Now, because the thyroid is the master gland, like you said earlier, it runs the show of your entire body. So you could have high blood pressure, low blood pressure, dysregulated insulin. You could be type 2 diabetic and be eating keto carnivore. And it's all because the thyroid has control over regulating your glucose level. So when glucose is all erratic, and you're like, wait, I'm not eating carbohydrates, it could go back to the thyroid. We said earlier, constipation, muscle and joint pain, inflammation, just even full body water retention. The thyroid is notorious for causing water retention, and we'll actually see something called myxedema, which is moon phase. So we'll see this extra thickening of the arms usually. And it's almost like you can tell this isn't fat. It's like a thickened layer, like there's a boatload of water underneath the surface. And then the face, which I absolutely had, the face just goes into this big poofy moon face. The neck will get swollen glands, hoarseness, voice changes. I mean, it really goes on and on and on, the different symptoms that can occur. But the top three would be the weight, energy, and hair.
So we talked a little bit about what has been going on with me over the last couple months. I was exposed to some viral activity. My liver enzymes were through the roof. Everyone knows I love my liver and I take care of my liver. So why me? Honestly, it's a God thing, because if I can fix me, then I'm going to be able to fix all of you guys. So this is the great news and the takeaways. My reverse T3 was through the roof. My cholesterol was high, but my cholesterol is always high, but the good is high and the bad is low because I work out and I always have. So that's good. With me, the first signs of hypo, because I can go hyper and hypo. I can feel the difference in me. My rings, I can't pull them off. I can't see my ankle bones. I'm bloated. I'm constipated. There's that thickness. I literally see the thickness around my elbows, and that's not a place you put fat. So you can't mistaken it for fat. And that's why I'm pointing these different body parts out. You don't get fat in your fingers, really. You don't get fat in your ankles. But it's that edema and the swelling. And when my thyroid's working, I don't have it at all. Cold intolerance when everyone else is warm. Heart rate. So this was interesting, is that when I'm hyper, my sleep score, my aura, my heart rate is not coming down. On a good day, when my heart rate is normal, my heart rate gets down to like 42. It's always been low. When it's not, and my aura ring says you did not rest last night, it's like at a 49 or a 50, which might be good for somebody else. but that is showing me that I'm a little hyper.
Okay.
So that is something to think about. Insulin resistance. So we talked about before we came on, what came first, insulin resistance or liver issues or thyroid issues. My blood sugar, my fasting blood sugar was 100, which is way too high.
So wild for you. Yeah. Yeah.
My fasting insulin was a 3, which will tell you that I don't have prediabetes or I have
Right.
a really good insulin response.
Yep.
So that's what's so crazy. So these crazy numbers is showing that there's something else going on, that it's not just thyroid, but it went back to my liver. My liver was not functioning right. And so that is going to affect the thyroid numbers. And can you tell us why?
Absolutely. So yeah, we have to love on our liver, and it is crazy. I agree with you that this is a God thing, and it's helpful for me too, because whenever we have someone like you they're doing all the things. I know how you eat. I know how you take care of yourself. I know that you're on top of your sleep. You're on top of your supplements. You are taking care of your liver. So when I have a friend that presents with some really wacky numbers on their labs, it's like, all right, let's dive in and figure this out. This is going to be fun. So you and I went back and forth numerous times about like, what could this be? What could this be? Like, what is driving up your reverse T3? And it's interesting as we go through your liver and the different things that your liver had to deal with, that it was exposed to in a short amount of time, that in and of itself, one of those things in a singular exposure away from the other factors, you probably would have been okay.
Right.
It was the stacking of multiple things that even the best taken care of livers can eventually say, you know what, piss off. I'm just not going to do my job right now because I just feel burdened. I feel overloaded and burdened. So yes, that could be it probably is the sole reason why your reverse T3 went up. And it was total survival mode by your body.
Right.
You know, thank God our bodies know that when we're struggling, you know, push up that reverse T3. You didn't need to burn fat. You didn't need to have energy. You didn't need to think clearly for a while. And you might disagree, but your body says, listen, we want to protect the liver because the liver does so much. The liver keeps you alive. The liver protects you from toxins. The liver protects you from everything. It's filtering out the bad. Not only that, it's helping to convert T4 to T3. Right. It's helping with our hormone balance. Everything gets processed through the liver. Over 500 metabolic processes happen with the liver. So your body knows, listen, Sarah, you don't really need to have energy. You need your liver working. And that's our first and foremost job today. So it pushed up your reverse T3. Totally makes sense. And this really sheds light on the importance of looking at liver and liver function and not just going by numbers. I mean, we did have some numbers on labs for you that we could look at that kind of, you know, alerted us, hey, we need to pay attention to this. But oftentimes, you know, you may or may not get that true elevation, and you probably won't even get flagged high in those liver markers like ALT, AST, alkaline phosphatase. I've seen people with fatty livers that those numbers are within normal limits. But again, when you're working with a functionally based provider, practitioner, they're going to look at those liver numbers a little bit differently. And we have our optimal ranges where we like to see things so that if someone is starting to climb a little bit early in the game, no, their PCP hasn't said anything to them about their liver, but we look at it, we go, you know, you would really benefit from some help here. Maybe a detox, nice little liver cleanse, then let's do some support. Because if this isn't working, then we can throw all the thyroid medication at you. We can throw hormones at you. We can pile on a bunch of other supplements, and it's not going to work. It has to start with your liver. It has to.
So something to add into that is, and yes, this is part of my God story. My daughter was having horrific PMS symptoms. I had talked to you about that. Come to find out, she was exposed to the spike protein, which really messed her up. One doctor wanted to put her on progesterone, and I said, okay, I am really hesitant about hormones, especially with a 17-year-old, but she was so miserable. I'm like, I need to help my child.
Yeah.
But then I talked to another practitioner. She said, no, she's so fat malabsorbed. What does that mean? And so am I. Your liver's where you process and metabolize fat. If your liver's overburdened, hell no, it's not going to. Stop the ketogenic diet. Most people today cannot handle a high fat diet. I'm not saying that it didn't work in the past, but we have the spike protein, the microplastics, the GMOs, the glyphosate, all these things that are stacking up on our livers on top of the other stuff that my liver was dealing with. And then on top of what she was dealing with, that her body could not process fat. Now, how did I know as a mom? Do I listen to the doctor who says progesterone, or do I listen to the practitioner that says absolutely not? We are going to use antivirals to get rid of certain things, to let the liver rest, put her on a zero fat diet, which I currently am on. And it is not easy, but hey, if you tell me to eat cardboard and I'll feel good, I will eat cardboard.
Right.
Because I want to feel good. So she originally, I'm like, how do I know? Well, before we started the progesterone that we never ended up starting, we put her on pregnenolone for 3 days. And I saw this little petite girl go from little petite girl to shrinking and shrinking and shrinking because she had zero appetite just over 3 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going backwards. Well, pregnenolone's a hormone. These hormones are fat based. They need to be, your liver needs to be able to process them for them to work. So your liver can't even do anything with it if it can't process a fat based hormone. So we stopped the pregnenolone. We put her on a vegan diet for 3 days and then added in some lean wild animal protein, did the antivirals, did some other things, and she's back. And we have gotten her, we've gotten back to baseline, and now we're on the push to where her appetite is roaring and she's thriving. We never had to do the progesterone because that was going to help with the symptoms. That was not going to help with the root cause. What was causing low progesterone? What was causing the hormonal imbalances and the PMS to be so bad? And that was the other things, and liver was part of it because things were just stacking up. So the same with me. So with me, I thought I felt good. And I told you that. I said, Amie, this is so weird. I wouldn't know that my liver enzymes were high, except for I got them tested. And I wouldn't know that my reverse T3 is high because I feel good. Well, you only think you feel as good as you know what good feels like, right?
Right.
So fast forward to today, when I have loved on my liver, I've backed off on the fat, I have corrected some of the things that were causing, it was viral related, that was causing my liver enzymes to go up. So as I've connected those dots, my vision is clear. I'm 48 years old. I don't need glasses. All 3 of my siblings are on glasses. My mom even commented that she had to start wearing glasses at 40. And I thought my vision was going blurry and then coming back and blurry and coming back. And now thinking back to it, it was related to stress on my liver. Like when my liver was stressed, my vision would go blurry. So my vision has improved significantly more consistently. My energy is up. I feel my thyroid up, even though I haven't tested it. And you know what? It might be placebo. I don't know. I'll take it, whatever.
Yeah. Who cares?
Right. So I really wanted to emphasize the fact that, thyroid issues might be connected to something deeper. And then that something deeper, like your liver issues, might be caused by thyroid issues. And heart disease might be caused by thyroid issues. Something that most people don't know is a sign of hypothyroidism is high cholesterol and heart issues. So beyond just the obvious of weight gain and hair loss, there's some more serious side effects of low thyroid. So are there any others that I'm missing?
Yeah, a couple just popped into my head too, worth mentioning. Fertility. So if you've had multiple miscarriages, if you had trouble getting pregnant, if you're having trouble getting pregnant, go back and look at the thyroid. Start there. And please do not, oh, well, my OBGYN said my thyroid was normal. It goes back to what we said in the beginning. Did they even test everything? If they're just testing your TSH and your free T4, that's not going to tell us anything. There are important markers that we have to look at: free T3, reverse T3, and then TPO and TGA antibodies for Hashimoto's. We want to look at that, and we want to make sure that your thyroid is optimized, because if the thyroid is not optimized, number one, you're going to have a hard time getting pregnant. Number two, if you do get pregnant, we have to think about the baby and the baby's brain development. Now, I speak about this a ton on my podcast because it's near and dear to my heart. My stepson is 12 years old, nonverbal, autistic, severely developmentally delayed. So he's 12, but he's really more like 3. Will never be on his own. We know that. Like, he will need help the rest of his life. And, it's so hard on my husband. And I can't even imagine how hard it is on his mom, because she doesn't have a normal mom life. Like, she's not going to soccer games and parties or anything like that. When I look at her, I see hypothyroidism. She had 2 miscarriages. The doctors told her everything is fine, just go ahead and try again. And it's like, if maybe women take a little bit more time, and this is what I tell my audience as well, you can take another 6 months to prime your body and make sure, work with somebody who knows what they're doing with the thyroid, make sure that your thyroid is optimized before you conceive. Because that 6-month waiting time of doing some work, investing in yourself, getting your thyroid optimized could mean 40 years of you taking care of another human being. Could you wait 6 months? So that is my message to women too, in regards to the thyroid and pregnancy.
Well, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about me. I had PCOS. Now, I had always had high blood sugar. This is another thing that I found out about myself. I did a DNA test that said, Sara, you do better on a high protein, high carb diet, low fat. And I've always intuitively not wanted to eat fat. It never felt good to me. Well, high fat diet can make me insulin resistant. And here people are stopping the carbs,
right?
Thinking that is the cause of insulin resistance. And insulin resistance can come from your fat cells being overstuffed with all these toxins we're talking about, or just too much fat.
Right.
And that can cause the insulin resistance, which can be connected to PCOS, which can be connected to infertility. So as I'm thinking back to my past, but what did the doctor give me? Clomid.
Yep.
I am super blessed that all 3 of my kids are healthy. Like, looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be taken away for what I did to my son. He was my firstborn. I had the microwavable corn dogs. I was microwaving breast milk. So when I say that, people, I want you to know that regardless of where you're starting on your health journey, there is hope, because I started at the rock bottom. And I always tell my son, thank you for digging yourself out of my hole that I dug for you. But with the fertility part too, you're also talking about the cognition, as you're talking about your stepson, where they're connecting the dots. Even the government is, with fluoridated water is causing low IQ in children. Well, why is it such an issue now? Because we're iodine deficient. Iodine deficiency is the number 1 cause of thyroid issues, right? So the iodine's going down, fluoride exposure is going up, not just in the water and the toothpaste, but in the PFAs and all of the forever chemicals and all of these fluoride-based medications. It's everywhere. And then you've got the bromide and all of the other toxins. So it is affecting the cognition at the younger age, lower IQ, but then it's also connected to Parkinson's later in life. And so we know that these toxins and iodine being the positive and the toxins, the negative, are affecting cognition, well, it all links back to the thyroid, right? So we've got a society full of anxiety and depression. Am I missing anything else when it comes to cognition and thyroid?
Yeah, no, you're nailing it. Anxiety, depression, mood changes. I've had patients say, I think I'm getting early Alzheimer's. Like, no, it's just your thyroid. Because I think the reason why we're finding that connection now with Parkinson's disease that you mentioned earlier, Parkinson's and T3, which you'll have to send me that paper, and you'll have to send me the fluoride dropping IQs, because I need to send that to my stepson's mom because she still uses fluoride toothpaste, and I'm sure get some fluoride treatments at the dentist. So that's a whole nother story. But because there are so many receptor sites on the brain for T3, there are receptor sites on the heart for T3. So going back to the brain, we're also seeing T3 being used to treat bipolar disorder, where, I mean, anyone that knows bipolar disorder, there are very few medications that can control that swing from mania to depression. And half the time they just wipe people out. I mean, they just take you down. Yeah. I had a friend that had bipolar, and I saw him struggle with these different meds that would make him want to sleep all the time. So instead of using these heavy duty antipsychotics or lithium that will actually cause a thyroid problem, why don't we use T3? And some functional psychiatrists are starting to do that and finding that it is a beautiful treatment for a variety of different neurological conditions.
Yeah. You think about having a sluggish thyroid and all of the symptoms we've talked about. You're gaining weight, you're holding water, your hair's falling out, you have no energy to go to the gym, let alone try to build muscle and look good. So you're going to be depressed, right? Because you don't even know, there's no out. There's no, I have the flu, I'm going to feel better in 3 days. You don't know when you're going to get out of this hypothyroid state. So you get depressed, which then it's a vicious cycle, because then you're stressed over it, which is going to cause the reverse T3 to increase even more. And then what do you also do? You stop eating as much as you were just eating 1,000 calories. Now you lowered it to 800, and now your body's in starvation mode. And so there's this downward spiral, and those less calories and the more working out is not going to boost your thyroid health. Do you want to talk about the mechanisms of what's going on there?
Yeah, I actually just wrote down another topic that you and I will have to do a whole podcast on based on what you just said. So we could talk about that a different time. But oh my gosh, it's so true. It's like women just get into this, and I get it. I mean, I totally get it. You get so desperate to get your body back, right? So your body starts going haywire. You don't know what's going on. Maybe you were diagnosed with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's and you're put on T4 only, which that doesn't work. So you're still like, oh, wait, maybe it is me. Maybe it's not this thyroid thing because I'm on a pill for it. I'm on a medication. So that should be taking care of all of these symptoms, but it's not. So therefore, I will just eat less, exercise more, starve myself, cause additional inflammation and situations in the body and it's just this vicious cycle. But you can't blame a person because all they're doing is searching for themselves again, right? And they're desperate for it. But what's the shame of it all is that it could be as simple as the right little pill, not T4. Maybe you need NDT, T3, combination of a couple pills, but it could be that simple. And when we say pills too, I want to clarify, there are medications that we kind of vilify because they're flat out used as Band-Aids to treat your symptoms. So how many of you have gone into your doctor's office, complained about a few symptoms, maybe even not even having to do with depression, and you were offered an antidepressant? And I swear, I don't know whether these docs are learning, like, antidepressants cure divorce, they cure heartburn, oh, you're not sleeping, here's the antidepressant. It's like, okay, so they're being prescribed the Band-Aid medications, and we put those into a category of, these are, we want to say, do you really need them? Can we maybe get you off of these medications? And then we have hormones. So under the hormone category, you have thyroid hormone, whether it's T4, T3, NDT, doesn't matter. We have progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone in the hormone category. We can also put insulin for type 1 diabetics. That's a much needed hormone. We don't say no to that medication. So whenever we're talking about replacing hormones that are no longer being properly made by our body, that is a totally different category than medications. But it's crazy how a hormone, so I'll use the right terminology then, a hormone could literally cure or prevent a disease that doctors just like to Band-Aid all the medication for instead.
Right.
I don't even know if I answered your question. I just kind of went off on a tangent there. So I might have just totally skipped over your question, or maybe answered it in that pedestal rant.
You did, and you also brought up testosterone, which is another piece to my puzzle with my liver. I've always run high in testosterone, and I love testosterone. Feels good, right? And I thought I was at a healthy level, but on my blood test where my liver enzymes were high, my testosterone was low, and I was shocked. And I thought, well, that's weird, because I feel like I have enough testosterone. I work out and lift heavy.
Yep.
And I'm eating a ton of protein, all of these things. And then I started treating my liver, taking my accelerated liver care, which is amazing, people. I can't say enough about it with the ingredients in it. But taking the stress off of my liver, really working on stress management intentionally, lifting heavy weights, I mentioned this to you before, the Hiwi device has over 60,000 programs. It has a testosterone program. So I've been using that. But what it came down to when I asked the question, well, why would my testosterone be low? Same reason my reverse T3 was high. Your liver is where these hormones are made and manufactured, and you have to have the right cholesterol to make hormones. So don't be on those statin drugs that are going to lower your cholesterol. You need that cholesterol. You want the right cholesterol, but you don't want to lower your cholesterol numbers, because you'll lower your testosterone and your hormones, right? So, and all of these play together. The thyroid, the HPT axis, affects the HPA axis, the adrenals, and the HPG axis, the sex hormones. Mm-hmm. So if you're low thyroid, you probably have low libido. Would that be another issue?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. And it's funny. We have to bring the guys into this conversation. So, and it'll kind of go through the ladies. So ladies, if you notice that your man who's on a statin is starting to develop some breasts, we call them man boobs, or is starting to get a little bit wider in his hips, starting to gain weight in his belly, maybe starting to have issues in the bedroom, he's going to have low testosterone because of the damn statin. Now, he also might have low testosterone because he's over 40, and that's what happens to our bodies. So women, we lose our progesterone first, testosterone, then estrogen as we move into menopause. Men just go right into andropause and lose their testosterone. Sometimes it's caused by a thyroid condition. Sometimes it's independent. Sometimes it's caused by statins from lowering cholesterol so much and taking away that backbone that testosterone needs to build upon. So whether male or female, yes, it can hit libido. For men, it can hit their actual performance. Can they keep an erection? We see erectile dysfunction with low testosterone. For women, it's almost not as clear cut. So guys, we can give them Viagra, right? And solve the problem. With women, it gets so much more complex, because I'll hear women say, I love my husband. Yeah. I want to have sex, but I don't want to. The drive just isn't there. I love him. I want to participate. I want to make him happy. But I kind of want to enjoy it too. Like, I would love to get that love and feeling back of like, hey, honey, let's go into the bedroom. It's noon, It just isn't there if we don't have enough testosterone. Now, that being said, I want to asterisk this with there are other reasons for low libido. So as much as we love and talk about testosterone, sometimes it puts too much of an emphasis on, well, if you have no libido, it must be testosterone. Listen, we are complex beings. Ladies, it could be that you're stressed out. It could be you don't like how you feel because you have a thyroid problem and you put on 20 pounds. Now you don't even want to get naked. You don't like looking at yourself in the mirror. That's weighing on your head. You're too damn tired. You can't even get through your day. So just that fatigue alone can affect your libido. It can be thyroid related. It can be cortisol related. If you're insulin resistant, that can flare up a lot of inflammation in your body. It could be circulation related, that could be tied back to the thyroid. So there's so many different things. And then estrogen and progesterone, all the hormones are important when we're talking about libido. But we kind of have to start with testosterone. I mean, let's be honest. If your testosterone is a 3, I've seen it actually non-existent on labs as well. And these women are being told that they're normal and everything is fine by their doctors, because doctors don't think that testosterone has anything to do with women. So literally the total testosterone number will be so low it's undetectable, and it's like less than 3. It's crazy. So at that level, it's your testosterone. That's why you don't have a libido or muscle or heart protection or your brain functioning or any kind of motivation to get through your day.
To get out of bed.
Bed. Yeah.
Get out of bed. So before we get into the medication, I always say you want to address your diet first and maybe supplements. With the supplements, you and I would both agree that iodine is essential for everybody, considering the toxicity of our world, because it kicks out those toxins that clog the thyroid and all of that. Yeah. You can use accelerated thyroid, which is glandular plus a contranaro, which helps with goiters and the water retention, and it's an Ayurvedic herb. And then there's some peptides in there and amino acids. And then there's the Thyroid-Fixer, which is my favorite for that extra fat burning. You want to talk about the Thyroid-Fixer, and then we're going to get into the medications.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I just did a podcast. I recorded one the other day. It hasn't been released yet, where I dive into other things that you can add in to support your thyroid. And 2 of these are actually in Thyroid-Fixer. So Thyroid-Fixer contains T2. That increases your basal metabolic rate. So you're going to burn more fat. So even if you are stuck on T4 only and it's not quite working for you, and your doctor won't test the test that Sara and I are telling you to get, you can at least take Thyroid-Fixer, add in that T2 to boost your metabolism. And it also works at the mitochondria level to produce more ATP. So that's going to help with energy through your day as well, like a nice steady energy, not a stimulant energy. The other 2 ingredients in it, L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine has been mostly studied with its relationship to adrenals and adrenal support. It helps with stress resilience. It helps to lower your body's reaction to perceived stress. So when I say perceived, I mean perceived. It might be a stressor that you are wigged out about, or it could be a good stressor, like you're planning a wedding, but it's still a stressor on your body. So our bodies respond with that increased cortisol, pump up the blood sugar, inflammatory response. So it helps the body with perceived stress. It helps the thyroid gland actually produce more T4 and T3. Now, here's the interesting thing with L-tyrosine, and this is why Thyroid-Fixer and Celardine pair up so beautifully. Tyrosine needs iodine together to make thyroid hormone. If one is there and the other one isn't, your body struggles to make its own thyroid hormone. So you have to be taking those 2 things together, whether you're hypothyroid or not. My God, if you're not, you want to stay out of the hypothyroid arena. And something as simple as tyrosine paired with iodine can help your thyroid gland produce adequate amounts of thyroid hormone. The other ingredient in there is coleus for scoli. For scoli helps the thyroid gland produce hormones as well. It aids in weight loss. It has been shown in some studies to increase metabolism and help with fat loss. So you have those 3 ingredients in there, pair that up with a Celardine, and oh my God, your thyroid has a shot at actually working better on its own, even if you are stuck on T4 only, or you don't know if you have a thyroid problem, but you have all the symptoms that we're talking about today.
And I loved that you use the word perceived stress, because we all have our stressors, they're not going to change. They're actually going to increase with the way our world is. Our cell phones are supposed to make things better, but they are just stressing us out even more. They're getting more complicated. I had a friend that just got the iPhone 16 and she said, I want to throw this thing out the window. It's not working for me. Tell everyone out there, don't get it. She's obviously not lowering her stress with what's going on in this world, but it's how you process the stress. And that's going to show up in your liver. That's going to show up in your thyroid, your metabolism, your hair loss, all of these things. So the number one thing that you can do is work on that perceived stress. Are you going to see your stressor as a 1 or a 10? Because it's going to come regardless of how you process it. And so if there's a tool like Thyroid-Fixer to help with that, please bring it on, right? And I take it daily along with the acceleradine and accelerated thyroid. And those three things, I love people to try those before getting into the medication, just so they know where they're at. Of course, testing will give you answers. But with that being said, when should someone look to the medications?
I think number one, if you've been suffering for years or decades, so that tells us that those symptoms started a while ago, most likely Hashimoto's, but even if it's non-Hashimoto's thyroiditis, your poor thyroid gland has been underperforming for years and years and years. I think at that point, I just always tell people, listen, do you want to feel better quickly? Or do you want to stay off the thyroid hormones? And again, we're putting those in the hormone category. I did not say medication, but interchangeable. So if you want to stay off the thyroid hormones, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you it might be a year or more before your symptoms clear. Is it possible to do? Yes. Is it probable? We got a 50-50 chance. And you still might end up on thyroid hormone anyways at the end of that year. So most of the time people are coming to see me because they're pretty much done with the symptoms. They're over the suffering. They're over the runaround that they're getting in the conventional medicine system. And they're open to, let's do what we need to do to get some change in this body. And so that's where we bring in the thyroid hormone replacement, because again, we're not band-aiding you. We're actually treating the root cause of the problem. Right. We're replacing those thyroid hormones that are not being properly made anymore by your thyroid for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, we can find the root cause is Epstein-Barr virus. Well, that's fine. You had that back when you were 20 and it triggered Hashimoto's, and that's the root cause, but we can treat EBV all day. It's not going to produce more T3. And you're still going to be 50 pounds heavier at the end of these 6 months. So it's like, let's just do things now that are going to give you your life back. That's the bottom line.
Well, when you have your life back, some of these other risks of chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease and just living the quality of life that you want, you're sacrificing that. So, you have to weigh your options. And living life today is important, weigh the options. But that's why I trust you, Amie. I mean, you have such a balanced approach. You look at each person individually. There's not one blanket answer for everybody. And that's why when people come to me and say, well, why aren't you a keto proponent anymore, or paleo or vegan or carnivore or whatever? It's like, no, you eat to your DNA. I know what I need to eat today, which was actually different than me 6 months ago. So you have to also take your current state of health. And what you need today, whether it's supplements or medication, might be different a year from now. Mm-hmm. Your stressors, your lifestyle has changed. You have to take all of these factors in and address them. It's not just one magic pill. It's also the lifestyle and the habits that you change. How are you sleeping? How are you relating to other people? Get off your cell phones, all of those things. And I say that to myself because I'm always on my cell phone.
I know. We're all guilty.
Right. I can't believe it. We are out of time. So is there any last words you want to leave with anybody?
I mean, the only thing, last thing I would say would just be to not waste another day searching for answers when you have people like Sara and I that can help you. And, this isn't a shameless plug of like, oh, come work with us. It's coming from a place, starting with the very first thing Sara said was that email. And I said, I see that all the time. And I have had patients come to me, and this is why we spread this message, is I've had patients say, oh my gosh, this has been going on for 20 years. So they just lost 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years of their life dealing with symptoms that they don't have to deal with, that you don't have to deal with. So number one, I mean, absolutely always have hope that there's an answer. I don't care if you've seen 5 doctors, 10 doctors. I don't care. I don't care if you've worked with functional and integrated practitioners and spent tens of thousands of dollars on them and they couldn't help you. That does not mean there's not hope. There is always hope. There is always something we can do and figure out with your body to get you out of the symptoms that you are in, because those symptoms are a gift that your body is giving you, and there's an answer somewhere. So we just have to test properly and address things properly, and you can get your life back.
Amazing. And amazing. You provide the most amazing information on your podcast. I've been a guest, thank goodness. I love coming on your show. But where can people find you, listen to you, and then also work with you?
So Thyroid-Fixer podcast. Yep. Sara's been a guest multiple times. You're probably the most, come back to guest, most recorded guest that we have, because we riff so wonderfully together. And so Thyroid-Fixer podcast, you can also go to dramie.com, DRAMIE. And on there, you can book a free call if you're interested in finding out more about how we can work with you. We do prescribe to all 50 states and most of Canada. So that includes the right thyroid medication, bioidentical hormones. Yes, we do peptides as well. So all things to get you to that next level of health.
Amazing, Amie. Thank you so much for joining us. And you guys have to check her out. Listen to her podcast. She's just a wealth of knowledge. And the thyroid, you would think that it would be the most understood organ in the body, or gland, but it's not. And Amie's got it pinned. So thank you again. And thanks everyone else for joining us today. Oh my goodness. I love my thyroid. I love my liver, and they are connected, as we were talking about. Any of the supplements that we talked about, you can find at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. And make sure you join us next week for Dr. Carrie Jones. We're going to talk about the early stages of perimenopause. And you don't have to stop your learning here. If you're lost in the supplement world, just contact me through the website. I'll put together your free supplement protocol. Follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products, and join the free health group coaching on Telegram. There is no downside. I answer your questions, post insights daily, and you keep moving forward. You can listen anywhere on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and over 100 platforms. Just search for Accelerated Health with SaraBanta and use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off any of the supplements that we talked about: the Accelerated Iodine, the Accelerated Thyroid, the Thyroid-Fixer, and even the Hormone Fixer for that testosterone boost. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.